My roommate, Maya, gave me a silver bracelet. I turned around and put it on the wrist of a homeless woman whose face had been destroyed by acid. Because 15 minutes ago, a message had flashed in my vision. Watch out! Maya linked a face swap system to that silver bracelet. Once you put it on, in 3 days, you'll become her and be married off to a 55-year-old creep. And she'll become you, marrying your super rich boyfriend and starting a family. Not only that, she's also planning to scam your dad in an overseas con and orchestrate a plot to kill your mom for the insurance money. After helping the homeless woman put on the bracelet, I walked across the street to a jewelry store. I bought a silver bracelet that was an exact match for the one Maya had given me. When I got back to the dorm, Maya was just coming out of the bathroom, clutching her stomach. The moment I saw that pop-up message, I had secretly slipped a laxative into her insulated mug. It was the only way I could get out of the room. The laxative was originally for a stray cat downstairs that was having trouble. Well, you know. I never thought Maya would be the first to use it. At first, when I learned the truth, I wanted to confront her directly. But if I did that, she wouldn't face any real punishment. What if she didn't give up and went after someone else? After all, not everyone is as lucky as I am and gets to see warnings flash before their eyes. As I was wondering what to do, I thought of the homeless woman at the campus entrance, the one with the acid burns. From what I understood, the burns covered over 70% of her body. Since Maya hated her own looks so much, I figured I'd re-gift them to someone else. Chloe, why haven't you put on the bracelet yet? Is my graduation gift too cheap for you? Seeing my bare wrist, her face turned a frightening shade of pale. If I wasn't worried she'd figure out what I was up to and find a way to reverse it, I wouldn't even bother pretending right now. But I had no choice. The so-called face swap system wouldn't activate for another 3 days. No matter how furious I was, I had to wait until the swap was successful. What are you talking about? Do I seem like that kind of snob to you? I held up my wrist. It has one of those S-clasps. I can't get it on by myself. Hearing that, she let out a sigh of relief. She was probably just glad I hadn't discovered her little scheme. To avoid any complications, she immediately stepped forward to help me put it on. After she fastened it, a bright smile spread across her face, like she had just accomplished something major. Too bad for her, she was celebrating way too soon. I had a gift for her, too. I pulled a necklace out of my pocket. It's about give and take. That's what makes us good friends. You got me a graduation present, so how could I show up empty-handed? She probably thought it was cheap brass, and a look of disgust crossed her face. Just as she was about to mock me for being stingy, I cut her off. It's my fault for not saving up. I could only afford to get you a 30-gram gold necklace. If I had just bought a little less designer stuff. I hadn't even finished my sentence when her eyes went wide. This is real gold. Well, what are you waiting for? Help me put it on. You bet it is. Right now, gold is going for about $95 a gram. A 30-gram chain is worth almost $3,000. Of course she was excited. But I'm not the type to repay evil with kindness. I was only doing this because the necklace also had a system linked to it. A love-struck system. It was a thank you gift from the homeless woman for helping her escape her misery. It was simple to use. The moment the necklace was on, all I had to do was make sure the target saw a picture of the opposite sex. Once the system activated, she would become hopelessly devoted to the person in the photo. The only way to break the spell was to have 100 children. Unfortunately, just like the face swap system, it would take 3 days to kick in. But I wasn't in a hurry. 3 days isn't long at all. After she clasped the necklace, she was grinning from ear to ear. She grabbed a mirror to admire herself. I could hear her muttering under her breath. A silver bracelet worth less than $10 for a 30-gram gold necklace. Chloe really is an idiot with more money than sense. Suddenly her expression soured. But a moron like that gets to be everyone's favorite. It doesn't matter though. In 3 days, everything she has will be mine. She said it quietly, but I could read her lips in the mirror. She grew up in a family that favored boys over girls. The reason she was being married off to a 55-year-old creep was probably because her gambling addict brother had lost big again. She was the price. If she had just asked me for help, with my resources, I could have easily gotten her out of it. But she crossed the line. She shouldn't have tried to replace me. Even worse, she was planning to destroy my loving parents. That being the case, why should I show her any mercy? Being kind to your enemy is being cruel to yourself. While she was lost in her daydreams of the future, I grabbed my phone and quickly held it up in front of her. She was confused by my action. Why are you showing me a picture of some random guy? Perfect. All she had to do was see it. The homeless woman had told me the man in the photo was her neighbor. A total lowlife, a cheat, a liar, and a thief. Most importantly, he was unbelievably ugly. He looked like a blobfish. I quickly made an excuse. Oops, wrong one. I wanted to show you this hilarious video. But right now, all she could think about was the gold necklace around her neck. She was in no mood for funny videos. Get that? Before the word away could leave her lips, my phone rang. It was my boyfriend, Ethan. I didn't care what kind of face she was making. I walked out onto the balcony. As I slid the door shut, I heard the sound of a teacup shattering. She was pissed. At the same time, I changed my mind about something. Ethan was in a rush. His plane was about to take off. He just said he was heading to London for a bit, and then quickly hung up. But I still waited a full half hour before going back inside. That's right. I wanted to provoke Maya. I wanted to make her hate me even more. That way, she might try to use another system to hurt me. As long as I could figure out where these systems came from, I could stop her from trying to hurt me or anyone else again. When she saw me come back in, she forced a smile. Wow, you two have been together for 4 years and you're still like newlyweds. It's not like you're in a long-distance relationship. Do you really need to talk on the phone for half an hour? Suddenly, her tone turned serious. Chloe, did you cast some kind of spell on him? Otherwise, I can't figure out why a guy as rich as Ethan would be so obsessed with you. I mean, besides being pretty, you're completely useless. She'd never dared to be so blunt before. She was only acting like this now because she thought I was already trapped by the face swap system. The truth is, she didn't like Ethan. She liked that Ethan was rich. I gently touched my cheek. I'll take that as a compliment. And yet, this face is something you could only dream of having. I never compare my looks to other people's. But if she was going to start a fight, she couldn't blame me for not holding back. Having lost the exchange, her face twisted with anger. But I wasn't done with her. I smiled. By the way, Ethan just proposed. We're setting the date for next month. You have to come, okay? And don't worry, I know you're broke, so you don't have to bring a gift. Just as I expected, she got even more furious. She shrieked, "Who are you looking down on? And what gives you the right to accept Ethan's proposal?" My Ethan? She said his name more intimately than I, his actual girlfriend, ever did. Why wouldn't I accept? This is so weird. The two people actually involved are fine with it, but you, our roommate, have a problem. Don't tell me you like Ethan too? As I said it, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. She realized she'd overstepped and quickly changed her tune. Don't be ridiculous. Why would I like Ethan? He's your boyfriend. I'm just looking out for you. Your parents worked so hard to put you through college, not so you could become a housewife the second you graduate. She sounded so convincing. If I hadn't already seen her true colors, I might have actually believed her crap. Suddenly, she thought of something, and a sly smile appeared on her face. Oh well. To each their own. It's not my place to give advice. Besides, we're talking about the Collins family. They're one of the top 3 wealthiest families in Austin. Even being a housewife for them is better than what the rest of us normal people can hope for. The only reason she'd shifted gears so fast was because she remembered. Soon she would be me. The one getting married would be her and Ethan. You're not wrong, I said, playing along. I didn't even say anything, and Ethan is already giving me a check for $888,000 as a wedding gift. He also said he's taking me to buy gold tomorrow. I fiddled with the bracelet on my wrist. I can't even imagine. 2,000 grams of gold. How am I supposed to wear all that? But when you put it next to all that, the silver bracelet you gave me seems awfully cheap. My future in-laws will probably tell me to cut ties with you. They'll be afraid you'll come around looking for handouts. At my words, her whole body started to tremble. I could see she was on the verge of a complete breakdown. I knew I had successfully pushed her over the edge. Now, I could just sit back and enjoy the show. I stretched lazily. All right, I'm going to take a nap. Don't you have an interview this afternoon? You should get going. In a few more days, we won't be able to live here anymore. With that, I lay down on my bed and pulled the curtain shut, ignoring her face, which was contorted with rage. It was a good thing our other 2 roommates had already found jobs and moved out. If they had been here, I wouldn't have been able to pull this off so well. That afternoon, I slept for a solid 3 hours. My goal was to be wide awake and full of energy tonight. After all, bad things always happen at night. Sure enough, at 1 in the morning, I heard the sound of Maya opening the door. I waited 10 seconds, then silently followed her. She didn't even look over her shoulder. She would never have imagined that someone as disciplined as me would sacrifice sleep to tail her. The moon was full tonight. It lit up everything on the ground. She kept walking until she reached the small woods behind the athletic fields, where she finally stopped. The next second, I froze in place. The person she was meeting had a face that was identical to mine. If it weren't for the single teardrop mole at the corner of her eye, I would have thought I was seeing a clone of myself. What was going on? My parents never told me I had a twin sister. This is driving me crazy. Why does the face swap system have to take 3 days to work? Helen, don't you have any systems that work instantly? That Chloe is so arrogant and obnoxious, I can't stand it anymore. Maya's shrieking pulled me back to reality. Worried they would spot me, I hid behind a large tree and tried to shrink my shadow as much as possible. Still, the name Helen sounded familiar. I felt like I'd seen it somewhere before, but I just couldn't place it. Compared to Maya's frantic energy, Helen was much calmer. She smiled faintly. Of course there are. It just depends on whether you're willing to pay the price. Consumed by her anger, Maya was impatient. Cut the crap and just tell me. At that, Helen stopped being cryptic and immediately took out a capsule. This is the savior system. The person bound to it will be blessed with the kindest heart in the world. No matter how much they hate someone, if that person cries and begs, the user will offer a helping hand, even if it means destroying themselves. I couldn't help but wonder, who was this Helen, and why did she have these supernatural powers? Maya didn't care about any of that. She was about to snatch the capsule, but Helen closed her hand around it first. If you want this system, it will cost you 20 years of your life. Maya instinctively shrieked, 20 years? Are you a robber? The face swap system only cost me my friendship. Helen wasn't fazed by her terrible attitude. She remained perfectly calm. You could also pay with your love, but that would also take 3 days to activate. Can you wait that long? Can you really stand to let Chloe keep lording it over you? Seeing Maya fall silent, Helen continued. Since you're a sincere customer, I'll let you in on a little secret. You're destined to live to be 108. Even if you trade 20 years, you'll still live to be 88. You know, the average life expectancy these days is 78. Life is about being happy. There's no need to worry about how long or short it is. I sighed silently. It's true what they say. The good die young, and the wicked live for 1,000 years. How could someone like Maya have such a long life? The heavens are so unfair. Complaints aside, my ears were still listening intently. As soon as Helen finished, Maya let out a laugh like wind chimes. I had no idea I'd live that long. You're right. Life is about being happy, and tormenting Chloe is the greatest joy of my life. She held out her hand. Hand it over. I'll take that savior system. Seeing the deal was done, the smile on Helen's face grew wider. She didn't forget to add a final instruction. Just put it in her bubble tea. Once she drinks it, she'll be bound to it. With that, she placed her hand on Maya's head. A moment later, a red, misty light lifted off of Maya's body. I didn't dare stay any longer. As Maya turned to leave, I bolted. I made it back to my bed just a moment before she returned. Knowing where the systems came from, I felt a sense of relief. As long as I didn't use anything Maya gave me, I'd be fine. Besides, she wasn't getting these things for free. Sooner or later, her resources would run out. I drifted off, and before I knew it, it was morning. I have to say, she was really impatient. It was only 8 a.m., and she had already bought bubble tea. But it just made me want to laugh. She had bought 2 identical cups. That certainly made things easier for me. Originally, I was planning to trick her into drinking some water laced with laxatives, then swap the teas while she was in the bathroom. Now it seemed that wouldn't be necessary. Seeing me wake up, she was visibly excited. The delivery app coupons were huge today, so I got 2 to meet the minimum for the discount. 1 is for you. Don't worry about it being fattening. I specifically asked them to make it sugar-free. She even remembered I was worried about gaining weight. Normally, I would have refused instantly. I don't even like bubble tea. But this time I nodded. If I didn't play along, how else could I make her fall into her own trap? With her eyes fixed on me, I picked up the bubble tea. Just as I was about to poke the straw through the lid, I suddenly screamed. A cockroach. I grabbed the lamp from my desk and hurled it toward the door. Naturally, her gaze followed the lamp. In that split second of confusion, I swapped the 2 cups of tea. By the time her eyes darted back to me, the deed was done. She didn't suspect a thing. Instead, she frowned and asked, "Where's the cockroach? Are you sure you weren't seeing things?" There was no cockroach. But I wasn't about to admit that. I put on a terrified expression. I wasn't seeing things. There was a cockroach. I even saw it crawl into your blanket. She started to pull back her blanket to check, then remembered she had more important business to attend to. "It's just a cockroach," she said quickly. "We're moving out in a couple of days anyway. Drink your tea while it's fresh. It'll go bad if it gets cold." Since she was in such a hurry, I figured I'd cooperate. I downed the entire cup of bubble tea in one go. She was ecstatic. Afraid she would laugh out loud, she quickly grabbed her own tea and started drinking to hide her smile. I was ecstatic, too. I was about to head to the bathroom for a good laugh when I heard crying from next door. It was coming from the room across the hall. She always loved drama. Sure enough, she grabbed my arm and pulled me over. I knew the girl who was crying. It was Sarah from the chemistry department. It was 2025, and she was still using a flip phone, which told you a lot about her financial situation. To make matters worse, on top of being broke, she had just accidentally dropped her money in the toilet. She wanted to get it back, but she was disgusted. After all, the money was covered in, well, you know. She was torn. "What do I do? It's only $50, but it's all I have." She started crying again. "It's all my fault for being so useless. I still haven't found a job. Normally, I would have just given her the money myself. Helping others is helping yourself. But today, I looked over at Maya. She was bound to the savior system, wasn't she? This was the perfect opportunity to test it out. "Oh, Sarah is so pitiful," I said loudly. "Maya, why don't you go get it for her?" Maya instinctively wanted to refuse. But could she really control the savior system? Without even a moment's hesitation, she plunged her hand into the toilet. After about 2 minutes of feeling around, she finally found the money. I nearly threw up, but I forced down the nausea and gave her a thumbs up. "Wow, Maya, you're so kind. I could never do that. I think I need to give you a Good Samaritan award." Her face was pale with rage. Even though she was clearly unwilling, her mouth said, "It's nothing. As long as I can help someone, I'd jump into a pit of fire." What a true saint. In that case, I was going to let her help to her heart's content. As soon as she had washed her hands, I dragged her on a tour of every single dorm room. Anytime someone needed help, all it took was a single word, and she would do it without question. By the end of the day, she had cleaned 30 toilets, caught 10 mice with her bare hands, and washed bedding and shoes for a student who had trouble getting around. She didn't get to rest until 10 o'clock that night. Seeing her exhausted face, I turned away, my heart filled with triumphant laughter. She wasn't a complete idiot. She had started to suspect that something was wrong. She rushed over to the trash can and pulled out the empty bubble tea cup. Frowning, she asked Chloe, "Did you switch the teas?" She'd guessed right. But, of course, I wasn't going to admit it. I looked at her with confusion. Switch the teas? Why would I switch them? Were the 2 cups different? I walked toward her, step by step. "You're so agitated. Don't tell me you put poison in it." Guilt-ridden, she couldn't say a word. After a long pause, she finally managed, "What are you talking about? You're perfectly fine, aren't you?" Her eyes darted away. "I've been working all day. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. She had been so busy all day that she had completely forgotten about the plan to buy 2,000 grams of gold. Since she didn't bring it up, it saved me the trouble. She had her suspicions about me, I'm sure. But I was still wearing the silver bracelet she gave me, so she had to assume she was mistaken. But I knew this wasn't over. Sure enough, at 1 in the morning, she slipped out again. I followed her. As soon as she reached her destination, she started yelling, "Helen, this savior system is useless. I want a refund." Helen was no ordinary person. She wouldn't be fooled so easily. This is the first I've ever heard of one of my systems being useless. If I'm not mistaken, you drank the wrong tea and bound it to yourself. Look at you. You're practically glowing with the light of a saint. Was she? I couldn't see it. Even though she'd been caught, Maya's expression didn't change. It's your fault anyway. You're the one who told me to put it in bubble tea. If you had just let me use something else, I wouldn't have made this mistake. She was great at making excuses. Unfortunately for her, Helen wasn't someone who could be easily manipulated. So, what do you want? I should tell you, the last person who tried to get a refund died suddenly the next day. Faced with Helen's dark gaze, Maya was terrified. She took a step back, her words coming out in a stutter. I was just kidding. How could you take it so seriously? I came to find you tonight to see if there's a way to unbind the system. Seeing that her attitude had softened, Helen's tone became a little gentler. Unbinding it isn't difficult. It just depends on whether you're willing to trade 30 years of your life for it. And let me remind you, a person only gets 3 chances to make a deal with pawnshop number 10. This is your last chance. I hope you'll think it over carefully. Pawnshop número 10? It must be something like the famous pawnshop number 8 from TV. No wonder she had such incredible powers. This news was a godsend. After tonight, Maya would never be able to scheme against me again. But one person's joy is another's sorrow. The happier I was, the more miserable she became. I only get 3 chances? But I can't stand the thought of letting Chloe have a moment's peace. She was completely torn. She wanted to make my life a living hell, but she also wanted to get rid of the savior system. Unfortunately, you can't have it both ways. Urged on by Helen, she finally made a decision. Help me unbind the savior system. Anyway, Chloe is already bound to the face swap system. In just 36 hours, I'll be able to take her place. Then all her wealth and status will be mine. I had a feeling she would choose this. But it meant she had just wasted 50 years of her life for nothing. Now she would only live to be 58. Not only had she failed to harm a single hair on my head, but she had also lost everything in the process. I returned to the dorm in high spirits. Knowing she could no longer hurt me, I slept soundly that night. But what's meant to be is meant to be. The next day, I was woken from my nap by the sound of laughter. It was Maya's voice. I checked the time. There were only 5 minutes left before the face swap system was set to activate. Seeing me get out of bed, she stopped laughing. Chloe, I'm really impressed. You're about to be married off to a 55-year-old creep, and you can still sleep. It seemed she was done pretending. I couldn't blame her. For the past 2 days, I had been flaunting my happy relationship right in front of her. She'd probably been dying to slice me into 1,000 pieces. Since I had just been woken up, my brain was still foggy. Seeing my dazed expression, she thought I was confused and decided to explain. You don't know yet, do you? I linked a face swap system to the silver bracelet on your wrist. In 5 minutes, I'll become you, and you'll become me. From now on, I'll be the one enjoying your life of wealth and luxury. I rubbed my forehead to clear my head. Just as I was about to speak, she cut me off, her face twisting into a hideous snarl. Chloe, your biggest mistake was being better than me at everything. It made me dream of becoming you. Then she laughed again. Luckily, that dream is about to become a reality. Now it's your turn to suffer for me. You've enjoyed 22 years of happiness. It's about time that came to an end. It seemed she didn't know. Even if she succeeded, her happiness wouldn't last long. Because happiness is something you have to build yourself, not something you can just take. My parents love me because I worked hard and made them proud. Ethan loves me because I have an interesting soul and the ability to be his partner in everything. My face is just a bonus. I didn't tell her the truth. She only had these last few minutes of joy left. For the sake of our time as roommates, I decided not to take that away from her. However, she pushed her luck. Chloe, since you were pretty nice to me in the past, I'll give you one chance. After the face swap is complete, go strip naked and run 5 laps around the track. If you agree, I'll have Ethan give you $20,000 to buy your freedom. Then you won't have to marry that old creep and suffer. How could I possibly believe her? She just wanted to humiliate me one last time. At that point, I didn't even want to give her the last 30 seconds of happiness. I slapped a receipt down in front of her. She glanced at it, a mocking sneer forming on her lips. It's just a receipt for a silver bracelet. What so? Her words trailed off as she suddenly understood. Before she could say anything, I pointed to my own wrist. Looks exactly like yours, doesn't it? She panicked. Then where's my bracelet? I smiled, picked up a mirror, and held it in front of her face. You're about to find out. As the time ran out, her features began to twist and distort. In just 5 seconds, her face had transformed into someone else's. She glanced at her reflection in the mirror, then hurled it to the ground. It's that homeless woman from the gate. The one with the acid burns. Chloe, how could you be so cruel? Cruel? I held up my hands. I think I'm being quite kind. This way, Leah can live a normal life. I did a good deed. Leah was the homeless woman's name. She had only been disfigured because she had trusted the wrong person. Maya completely lost it. You bitch, I'm going to kill you. She lunged at my neck. But there was no way she could take on someone who had trained in martial arts. I sent her flying to the ground with a single kick. Then, I started screaming before she could. Help! A beggar broke into the dorm. My shouts alerted the other rooms. With the help of a few other students, we managed to drag her out of the building and off campus. The whole time, she kept trying to explain that she was Maya, that she had turned into a homeless woman because of a face swap system. But who would believe such a crazy story? Everyone just assumed she was having a mental breakdown. She could have been saved, actually. But she was too impatient, too determined to make my life miserable for even a second. She wasted both of her chances to make a deal with Helen. At the campus entrance, Leah also noticed the change in her appearance. When she saw me wink at her from a distance, she quickly came over to my side. Back in the dorm room, she dropped to her knees in front of me. Thank you, Chloe. If it weren't for you, the rest of my life would have been a living nightmare. I helped her up. I was really just saving myself. You don't have to worry about it. I had seen her kindness firsthand. When she gave me the love-struck system, I had asked her why she didn't want the face swap system instead. She told me that the face swap system could only be used on someone of the same gender. The person who had ruined her life was a man, and she didn't want to hurt an innocent woman. As for the love-struck system, she had originally planned to wait for the man to get out of prison and use it on him. She was going to make him fall in love with his ugly, abusive stepmother. Once she had calmed down, I asked her quietly, the person you made the deal with, did she look exactly like me? This had been nagging at me. I had hoped to find a clue from her, but she just shook her head. It was a man. He said he was from pawn shop number 10. Pawnshop número 10. It seemed the pawn shop had more than one employee. Since she didn't know anything else, I had to put it out of my mind for now. I then looked at her with a serious expression. From now on you are Maya, not Leah. You can't let it slip, no matter what. Maya's family is a bunch of sharks. To get away from them, you'll have to take them to court and legally sever ties. Don't worry, I've already found a lawyer for you, and I'll cover all the costs. After this is all over, you can go to any city you want and start a new life. Her eyes filled with tears of gratitude. She promised that if I ever needed her help in the future, she would be there for me without hesitation. Worried that Maya's family would find her first, I hid Leah in my family's old house. But just 500 yards from the dorm, I felt someone grab my ankle. Even though it was dark, I could still recognize Maya. Her voice was raspy. Chloe, I was wrong. Please save me, okay? She knew she was wrong. Impossible. She was just scared of this new life. Seeing my silence, she must have thought I was softening. She continued, I know I've used up all my deals with pawn shop number 10, but you still have yours. If you're willing to help me get my face back, I'll be your slave for the rest of my life. She made it sound so sweet. I asked calmly, all right then. First, tell me, why does Helen look exactly like me? She must have expected this question, because she had a story ready. I heard that the people from pawnshop number 10 can change their appearance at will. She probably just thought you were pretty and decided to look like you. Bullshit. I shot back. There are plenty of people prettier than me. Why would she choose to look like me and not someone else? Maya, is this how you ask for help? She never expected that I would see through the lie she had spent so long crafting. For a moment, she was stunned. I continued, if you tell me the truth, even if I can't restore your face, I'll give you enough money to live out the rest of your life comfortably. And don't worry about me not being able to afford it. With Ethan around, money is not an issue. This time when I mentioned Ethan, she didn't get angry. She had clearly given up. Seeing that she had no intention of talking, I was about to pull my leg free. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching. The next second, she burst into laughter. Chloe, for all your cleverness, you still fell into my trap. I never thought you would actually save me. I was just trying to stall for time. Because there's someone who hates you even more than I do. As she finished speaking, Helen appeared in front of me. Could she be talking about Helen? But I had never intentionally hurt anyone. Before Helen could speak, Maya started talking. Chloe, you're such a hypocrite. To keep all of our parents' love for yourself, you pushed your own sister into a pond. I did something like that? I have no memory of it. She continued, I know you don't remember. When you pushed Helen, you hit the back of your own head on a rock and got amnesia. If you don't believe me, feel the back of your head. See if there's a scar. I didn't touch it. I knew there was a scar there. My parents always said I got it from being a clumsy kid. Could they have been lying to me? Then she yelled at Helen. You said that if I could get you a meeting with Chloe, you'd give me one more chance to make a deal. I've done it. Now you have to keep your promise. I saw Helen nod. I thought Maya would ask for her face back. But to my surprise, she said, don't you have a health transfer system? I'll trade 10 years of my life for it. As long as I can make Chloe feel the pain I'm feeling right now, I'll give up anything. She looked up at me. Chloe, you're so lucky. If it weren't for the rule at pawnshop number 10 that says you can't personally bind a system, you would have been tortured to death a long time ago. So that's why I had been safe all this time. I didn't try to run. Instead, I faced Helen directly. If I really hurt you, I'm willing to accept any punishment. With that, I closed my eyes, letting Maya bind the system to me. It was bound, but I didn't feel the discomfort I was expecting. That was strange. Leah had told me that she constantly felt like bugs were crawling all over her. I slowly opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was Helen's gentle face. Maya was standing to the side, gloating. You're finished. Ha ha. But the scene that followed left me completely stunned. Helen kicked Maya hard. You idiot. If it weren't for the fact that you could bind the system to my dear girl, this old lady would have beaten you to a pulp a long time ago. Old lady? But she looked the same age as me. After venting her anger, she took my hand. You silly child. You believe everything people tell you. As she spoke, I finally understood everything. It turned out she was my great-great-grandmother. Years ago, when she was starving to death, she was taken in by pawnshop number 10. No wonder her name sounded so familiar. I had seen it on the family tree a long time ago. With her newfound abilities, she had been secretly protecting our family all this time. Everything would have been fine, but 5 days ago, a jealous Maya had sought out pawnshop number 10. At first, someone else was handling her case. But when Helen heard my name, she took over personally. To make Maya lower her guard, she had fabricated the story about being my sister. I couldn't help but marvel at the wonders of genetics. Even after so many generations, our resemblance was uncanny. My eyes started to well up. So the message I saw, you made me see it on purpose. With that, I threw myself into her arms and started sobbing. I didn't even know why I was crying so hard. She stroked my back lovingly. You are my own great-great-granddaughter. How could I bear to see you harmed by such a wretched person? But you were even smarter than I thought. You didn't expose her on the spot. Instead, you put the bracelet on Leah. Not only that, but you also made this idiot waste 50 years of her life. After listening for so long, Maya finally caught on. She roared, "You two bitches. You tricked me. I'm going to tell the owner of pawn shop number 10. I'll have him burn you both to death." At that, my great-great-grandmother burst out laughing. "You mean you're going to tell me, and then I'm going to burn myself? What are you thinking?" I was shocked. My great-great-grandmother was so powerful that she had become the owner of pawn shop number 10. Seeing that there was no one who could help her, Maya got scared and immediately changed her tune. "I was wrong. Please, I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me this one time." My great-great-grandmother said coldly, "I gave you a chance, but you were useless. If you had asked for your face back, or for gold and jewels, you wouldn't have ended up like this. For the rest of your life, you can live like this, not quite human, not quite a ghost." Then, she gently brushed a stray hair from my forehead. "My dear child, I can't stay in the human world for too long. By the way, the system I just bound to you was a good luck system. It's my welcome gift to you. If I could have bound it directly, I wouldn't have had to resort to this trick." She wanted to say more, but her time was up. She had to leave. If it weren't for the faint, sweet scent that lingered in the air after she vanished, I would have thought it was all a dream. Maya didn't give up. She kept begging me to plead her case. But that was impossible. She had been trying to ruin me from the very beginning. I couldn't forgive her. Not only that, but I also called Leah and told her to have that blobfish-looking neighbor come over. Originally, I was going to let nature take its course. But she had tried to hurt me one last time. As I expected, she fell in love with the blobfish man at first sight. Surprisingly, he was disgusted by her. Even so, she didn't complain. She even gave him all the money she begged for. Her fate shouldn't have been like this. But her own greed was to blame. A year later, Ethan and I got married. This whole incident gradually faded from my memory. After all, she was just a passing character in my life.